Chris Cassarick held court for like a half an hour.
Yes.
Spoke about Drake Jackson for almost 8 minutes. And everything he said was a compliment. But the way I took it was the implication is that whatever he was doing last year was not good enough.
That wasn't it.
And for them to say, they're basically saying he's a lot stronger and more professional this year. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that he's necessarily strong or professional yet compared to starters in the NFL. How did you take what Chris Cassarick said about Drake?
I think it was sobering. I feel like he is the type of person where he doesn't tell you the truth for plausible deniability, where he's not the type of guy where you can say, well, I told you the truth. Mm-hmm. He's more of the coach where he plainly states what he means, and I'm not going to repeat myself. Part of that, I loved how he talked to Drake plainly about where he stood in his development and his progression and what he expected of him. And he said, I didn't motivate him. I didn't give him a big speech. I didn't go out of my character. I told him what he needed. And as I got prepared for my offseason schedule, I expected to see Drake in the weight room doing what he needs to be doing.
And he said stuff like not one day a week.
Yeah.
Every day, which was like, oh, wow.
Dude. And what that says to me is that there is a standard, there's a standard inside of that D-line room that's higher than the standard for this team. Yeah. He has his own standard for his defensive linemen. So I feel that's something that he messaged very clearly. I think that he gave him a little bit of praise. He gave him a little bit of meat to gnaw on, but not enough. Because he's got a long way to go. I think that for Drake Jackson's frame, he can put on more weight. He can get a lot stronger. And I feel like he was stern with Drake. However, he didn't hide him. He didn't carry his water. He let it be known that he had some things that were undesirable in his track. He mentioned fast food, diet, making sure that yes,
he did.
That's something that piqued my interest. One of the big things that I noticed with O-line coaches, whenever they mention food, they're talking about weight issues. All right. They're talking about strength. They're talking about recovery. They're talking about one of the biggest indicators of how he likes to scout is GTFO, getting off the line. That's something where when you and I talked about is one of the reasons why you train like a Nick Bosa is because you're going to have to play to a level where your body takes over and you're no longer thinking about it anymore. That's how tired these guys get on the field, okay? Where your first rep got to look like your last rep, okay? And the level of intensity cannot drop off. And what happens is that when you get on that level of pro athleticism, you're not picking and choosing when to have a good rep. You're always up top.
And Drake is far from there, or was.
And you have a reserve that you're pulling from to keep you up top, right?
Especially because the games are decided in the fourth quarter.
Exactly. If your mind...
That's why Jerry Rice ran the hill.
Exactly. And simply put, if your mind can tell you you're tired before your body can, you're not in shape. You're not a pro athlete. Okay. So if you can think about how tired you are before your body actually breaks down, you're not in shape. Okay. And right now, Drake thinks about being tired a lot. And the weakest thing to go, the first thing to go when you get tired is your mind. And it's hard for you to think and it's hard for you to be a pro. So
which means you can't play.
Which means you cannot play. Right. Play. So I think
you might be able, but the thing with Drake is that you might be able to play on some third downs. Like there should be a package. If he's a good pass rusher, they should be able to use him strategically. But I don't even know if he's a good pass rusher. I don't know.
Right. And then again, just like everything, this is football. He needs reps. So you can't get all of these curated, pampered ass reps where it's like, all right, go out there, Drake. Go ahead and do that move that we worked on for a week. No, that's not football. He's got
also, I got to say, I saw him on the field. He definitely looked bigger, but then I saw him at the podium. He doesn't look super cut up, man. He looks like he put on weight, but I don't know like how much of it is good weight. And then also, like Chris Cassarick mentioned the numbers he's lifting. Like, look, I'm not a big lifter. I lift a little bit, but he said he's he's benching 315 2 to 3 times.
2 to 3 times, yeah. All right,
look,
so
I'm not a power lifter, but it seems like there's probably high school kids that could do that at his size.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
So
no offense.
What I will say this. Coach Cassarick did give a caveat to that. Yeah. And the caveat is that the athleticism at his size has always kept him on the field.
For sure.
He's always been a highly
He can do backflips, right?
Yes.
He can do backflips. Yeah,
he's always been a highly sought after athlete. And the thing about it is that, let's be honest, the rules and regs on football has changed. It's just different now. It is very different. We got 220-pound kids getting drafted at linebacker. 10 years ago, that was not a thing.
Never happening. No.
That was not a thing. And
your safety.
And sometimes we may have to go back and look at, when you hear those numbers, you know, I'm in my late 30s, bro. You know what I'm saying? I graduated in 03. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I can recall very vividly going to college camps, Georgia Tech, Georgia, and it being clear as day on the weight room, on the wall, that all linemen must bench 400 pounds. All linemen must bench 400 pounds.
Just to get on the field.
Just to get on the field. Like, and that's, you know, we got strength and conditioning tests, and they want you hitting certain numbers, especially if you weigh a certain amount. So I will say that what he's shown has got him here thus far. I would be interested to know what maybe Aaron Banks had to do in the weight room. It's not uncommon, you know, for what these guys are asked to do now. They're asked to be a little bit more light in the ass, if you ask me. So,
well, here's one thing. Like, remember one player I remember who had no strength that I kind of wrote off for this and ended up being a really good player? Tyrann Mathieu. Do you remember how many reps he put up at the combine of 225?
4, yeah.
And I was thinking, like, how do you get through LSU like that? How did you do that? Because you're a baller. Because you're really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you get with guys where, and then another thing. This has to be said, and I'm kind of upset that I didn't mention this first. Drake changed a lot of positions when he was at USC. He had a lot of weight fluctuations. It was asked to do a lot of different things. And when you are asked to play a lot of different positions, it is hard to set into that. I get to lift and be at a certain body weight and compound all those years of training. So if you spend a year losing 30 pounds in the offseason, you're not getting strong.
That's not good. Right. That's a good point. So they set him back. Yeah. Their coaching instability set him back.
Right.
That sucks.
And with that, I want to draw context. So yes, he is getting stronger to the level of standard that we have inside of our defensive line room. However, I don't think they're shocked by that. I think they knew coming in that he had to get his man body. And that's what he's doing.
But what Cassarick also said was, he mentioned how young players make their biggest leap between years 1 and years 2. He kind of slyly threw in there sometimes between years 2 and years 3, which is I get the feeling they're looking at Drake being like, look, we still like you, but you're still really young and you might be another year away. So Cleveland Farrell, Austin Bryant, Robert Beal Jr., like those guys are in play. And Drake Jackson, he might be more of a rotational player this year than a 3-down starter. I mean, I actually don't expect him to be a 3-down starter.
And I'm not mad at that at all. And if you really look at it, it's so, if you look at, I mean, let's just go back to what you said. Go back and look at Brian versus Bobby. Look at Coach Cassarick. It's the same thing. He's not trying to crush the kid's confidence. He's rolling him out the right way. He's wrapping his arm around him. He's owning how
saying he's a starter. You're the starter, man.
Starter. He's not sitting here talking about, well, he's competing for his job. Or I'm happy that he's finally gotten to the point where he can compete. Or
I'm surprised he stopped eating. I'm surprised he stopped eating McDonald's. I mean, I really wrote him off. He seemed like a knucklehead.
Right. Oh man, and then another thing, Brian. Oh well, what'd you think about Trey Lance's injury? It was gruesome. I mean, it was gruesome. I mean, one of the things that I could really credit Trey for is how he really bounced back and didn't just mope around. He really helped the team. He didn't, he really owned his role and really owned it. So basically you're trying to say is, I really respect Trey for blowing up his ankle and not being a party pooper. Right. Basically coming around and making sure that you didn't make it weird. Right.
Yeah. He could have been mad at us for running him up the middle, but he wasn't.
But he didn't. So he's cool for that.
Great. That's the nicest thing you can say about him.
Go back and look at that interview and look at the real reaction he had about Trey's injury. He lost composure. He goes, it was gruesome. No shit.
Yeah. No, we know that. Thank you.